Alrighty. We're out for our morning exercise on the Biktrix Juggernaut Hub Duo. Riding past one, we're on a fresh charge. We're in fourth gear, heading up a little bit of an incline here. So, Biktrix Juggernaut Hub Duo. Who's it for? Anyone? I can tell you my circumstances. I'm in my early to mid 50s. I'm probably 25 pounds overweight. I used to be a lot more fit, a lot more athletic. And then I had a hip injury a few years ago that really slowed me down. And that combined with the recent pandemic that we just went through actually took me to about 30, maybe 35 pounds overweight. All right, I'm going to kick it up to gear 5. And, you know, along with that, some depression around, you know, feeling like the active and adventurous part of my life was behind me, and just not dealing with that too well. And then this summer we went on a trip with some friends, and we all brought our bikes. My wife and I brought our traditional muscle-powered bikes, and friends brought e-bikes. And I think, you know, intellectually I knew that e-bikes existed, but I'd never really put any thought into them. Hadn't thought about them at all. Use cases, scenarios when they would be cool, you know, just never thought about it. And as we were riding with our friends, anytime we'd come up to a hill, my wife and I, and there were a couple other couples there on regular bikes as well, we would all start to fall behind, and our friends on the e-bikes would just keep on trucking along, same pace, right? It was like the hill wasn't even there. And, you know, I took note of that. I thought it was kind of cool, but I, again, didn't think much of it until the next day. I was out with a couple guys. I was on my traditional bike. They were both on e-bikes, and we went for a longer ride, and wow, was I feeling it. My quads were burning, my lungs were burning. And at one point, one of them said, hey, why don't we swap? Why don't you try the e-bike for a while? I was like, okay, sure. Right? And again, still really not having any sort of expectation. I got on that thing, and I think within the first half pedal crank, I felt this exhilarating push, right? And it was like in that nanosecond, everything clicked, and I realized, oh my goodness, I need this in my life. I've got to have this, because it all made sense in that brief moment that this thing will allow me to get outside more often. This thing will allow me to go farther. Even around here where I live, you know, we're in Western Washington. We're kind of in the foothills of the Cascades, so we do have mountains and steep hills around here, but we also have these great rail to trail conversion trails through the valleys that are nice and flat. Thing is that getting to them means having to navigate hills, and you'll actually see one of them here shortly, because that's where I'm heading. And it was, despite the fact that 90%, hell, 95% of the route was flat and no problem for a traditional bike. It was getting there and getting back, right? The fact that there was no way that I felt that I could ride the bike there or back because of the hills, and so therefore the only way to enjoy it would be to load the bike up on a bike rack, and that just created extra time, extra overhead, extra effort, right? And it all just contributed to why I didn't do it. Why, you know, I've owned a traditional bike for decades, but very rarely rode it unless it was under ideal conditions, or like a situation where we took that trip with friends where we loaded it up on the car. And now with this Biktrix Juggernaut Hub Duo, I've had it for a month now, and I'm closing in rapidly on 500 miles, and I've lost about 10 pounds. I get out more, I go farther, I go places that I have never been before. I get to retraverse trails that I spent a decade running on but haven't seen in years because of my hip injury. And so this is one of the hills I was talking about, where we're gonna go down and then back up, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, I just never took my I didn't want to take my traditional bike out here, because sure, it's fun for the downhill, but then you're kind of screwed for the uphill. Just getting ready to apply some brakes because we do have a gate down here we have to go through. Oh, cool. 31 miles an hour. We'll cap out there because we got this gate. And while this is definitely helping me relive some adventures, I'm not that adventurous. All right, slow down to the gate. And it's foggy out here, but I think you can see the hill that's in front of us. All right, I wouldn't want to ride a regular bike up that, and there's a bunch of those, right? It made biking not fun, right? It made biking suck. And the thing about these e-bikes is that, man, it's all the fun of biking and none of the suck, right? They are magical. And for me it's been life-changing. So this hill, if I had to guess, I'd say this is probably I don't know, maybe a 12% grade. Because we're on part of the Tolt Pipeline Trail. It's a pipeline from the Tolt Reservoir that provides about 30% of Seattle's drinking water. And we're on the eastern side of it right now. Seattle's probably about 15 miles from us, as the crow flies anyway. Oh man, that seat is squeaking again. I meant to grease that seat. Oh well, hopefully it's not too bad. There we go. All right, down the backside. Now, look at that hill in front of us. Seriously, you'd want to ride up that with a bike? No thank you. But the e-bike makes it no problemo. All right. We're in third gear, and the bike is giving us, what is it, between 400 and 600 watts of assistance going up this thing. man, I hear that squeak. You know what? I do have a little spray bottle of oil in my trunk bag. I might give the seat rails a little shot just to see if I can put that squeak at bay until I have a chance to take the seat off the post and grease the rails. Hey, good morning.
Good to see you. Good morning.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized I made this mistake again, that I've got my little cold weather beanie on, but I don't have my helmet on. I think it's the act of putting something on my head makes me forget that I don't have my helmet on. I got to remember that next time. Oh, it's foggy down here in the valley. We're heading down to the valley floor, and it is definitely foggy down here today. In fact, I think when I get on I'm going to have to be on the road for about 200-300 yards until I can cut back over to the trail. So I think I'll put on my headlight just for some added visibility, so the cars can see me. Ooh. Okay, headlights on. Still in pass one. Actually, the traffic's not too bad. Maybe because I got a little bit of a later start. Off. Yeah, that throttle is awesome for situations like that where you need to cross a busy street rapidly, because you know these are well, actually you probably don't know, these are heavy bikes. So e-bikes, I would say on average you should expect any e-bike to weigh 2 to 3 times what a traditional bike that you might be used to is going to weigh. And that's because they've got to be beefier, more robust to be able to handle the weight of the motor and the batteries. Right? I think the motors in these things on average are like 10 to 15 pounds. The batteries on average are about 10 pounds. This has 2 batteries, so right there you're looking at like an extra 35 pounds of weight that the bike frame has to accommodate. Morning. So because you know these bikes, I think these bikes are great for everybody, but there is undoubtedly an appeal to older folks, more senior folks who, like myself, are in their 50s, 60s, or even 70s, and used to be active, but age and injury has slowed them down, or maybe just want to be active so they can enjoy their retirement years, these bikes are a huge appeal because they create so many opportunities to do things that you couldn't do otherwise. And so part of that is that this bike is what's called a step-thru design. It's what for years we used to call them women's bikes, right? Men's bikes had the top bar, women's bikes had the V shape, right? To allegedly to accommodate a skirt. Like, when was the last time you saw a woman riding a bike in a skirt, right? I got a little bit of fog in my glasses. I gotta get rid of. Here we go. So the modern trend is that they're not gendering the bikes. They're calling them step over and step through. And the reason that we still have the two is that step overs can actually accommodate more weight because there's more rigidity in the frame because you've got that triangle shape. And so if you are a heavier rider, like if you're someone who's, you know, over 250 pounds, or you intend to like carry a lot of gear with you on the bike, you're probably better off with a step over, right? Just because it's gonna have a higher load capacity. But if you're under 250 pounds or you're not intending to carry a whole lot of gear, these step-thrus make it really easy if you've got any sort of mobility issues. And I've got a hip injury that limits how far I can lift my left leg. And so for me to get on a step-over bike, I have to do these weird sort of contortions of where I like almost tip the bike entirely over so that I can get on top of it and then lift it back up. Whereas with this step-thru, it's pretty easy. You just step through and you're on. So there are definitely these are definitely popular in e-bike designs. All right, so we got a busy traffic circle here. It is the morning commute time, so I've got to be careful going through this thing. That's why I wear the please don't kill me high visibility fluorescent green. As in the morning, you got people are focused on where they need to be, and maybe they're running late, maybe they're doing shit that they shouldn't be, like checking their phone, and it's foggy. So just try to give people every opportunity to not kill me. All right, let's see. I'm debating if I want to pull over and try and oil the seat because it's squeaking, but it's not horrible right now. Well, actually, the more I think about it, the more it's bugging me. So I'm gonna oil the seat. Off the gloves. Wipe off any overspray excess. Okay. Actually, let me get a little shot right down the middle. Okay. Oops, dropped a glove. All right, hopefully that will do something. So definitely recommend getting a trunk bag. The rack was totally included with the price of the bike. So I've got a little repair kit there, tire pump, the trunk, which is just handy for all sorts of stuff. So all right, let's get going, and hopefully that fixed it. Give the throttle a little goose. So that giving that throttle a little goose, I think I actually got off track because I was talking about that, and it got me into discussing the weight, and then I kind of rambled. Anyway, so these are heavy bikes. They weigh 2 to 3 times as much as a traditional bike does. And so that throttle, even if you don't intend to use it for getting around, like I'm using this bike today as a piece of exercise equipment, right? So yes, I'm appreciative of the power boost it gives me going up hills, because that's what makes all of this possible. But now that I'm out here on the flat trail, I'm trying to provide all the energy myself, right? Because I'm trying to get my heart rate up. I'm trying to make this exercise. You know, like I said, this is a heavy bike, and so to get it going, and particularly if you're at a busy intersection, it can take a little bit of effort to get it moving with just muscle power. So having that throttle that you can just give it a quick goose, and it gets all this mass moving so that you can get across that busy intersection quickly, is just awesome. All right. Coming up on your left. I don't think she heard me. There's still a little bit of squeak in the seat, but I think the little bit of oil I put in there maybe dampened it a little bit. And by the way, this is an aftermarket seat that I'm using. This is from Cloud9. It's the model called the Sofa. So it's a nice, wide, gel and foam filled, super comfy seat. And I've gone, the longest ride I've done with this is 70 miles, and it was definitely comfy. In fact, I did a 66-mile ride just this last weekend, and it was very nice. How are we doing? Heart rate's about 135. That's a little lower than I'd like, but it's okay. So I think yesterday I was doing a ride with the batteries fairly low charge, because they'd been, actually I hadn't charged the bikes. Let's see, what is it? Today's Thursday. Road. Yeah, I charged the bikes on Saturday, or I should say Friday night. I charged the bikes. I'm saying bikes, all right. So on Friday night, I charged the batteries. On Saturday, I did a 66-mile ride, and I rode again on Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. And I didn't charge it again until last night, and the battery was at about 21%, I think, and I had gone, I want to say 98 miles on that one charge. Now, of course, that is 2 batteries. I've got 2 17.5 amp hour batteries. There's one that's hidden inside the down tube, and then there's an external one that sits on the top of the down tube. So I've got 35 amp hours total, and Biktrix has what they call their dualizer technology, where it will periodically swap and do so very seamlessly. There have only been, in nearly 500 miles, there have only been 2 moments where I became aware that it was doing the swap. Otherwise, it's completely transparent, where it'll switch from a battery that's maybe 10 or 20% depleted farther than the other battery. It'll switch to the higher charge battery, and it'll burn that one down a ways, and then when there's a big enough disparity between the batteries, it'll switch back, right? So you're not just using one battery till it's empty with the other battery sitting idle. It's actually actively swapping back and forth between the 2 batteries, which is good for the battery health, right? It gives the battery that was under load an opportunity to rest and cool down, and even regain a little bit of its voltage. So it increases the life of the battery, and also gives you a slight increase in your usable range. Okay, looks like there is still a lot of fog around us, but it looks like we are momentarily out of the fog. So going at 14.3 miles an hour, and it's mostly under my power. So I'm looking at the watt meter here on the display, and it's kind of hopping back and forth between about 28 watts up to about 150 watts. So 28 watts is effectively 0. I mean, if you're moving the pedals, that's what it'll show. It will show 0 if you're just coasting, but if you're moving the pedals, even if it's all you, it's still going to show about 28 watts. It's one of the little quirks that I've noticed. So Biktrix as a company, I've been super impressed with. They are a small company. They are effectively a startup, although they've been around, what is it? I think they've been around for 10 years? Maybe not quite 10. I think maybe they started in 2013. But they're a small but growing company up in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. I believe they do have 3 showrooms where you can walk in and actually get hands on the bikes and go for a test ride. So it's Saskatoon, Kelowna, which is in British Columbia, and then Vancouver, BC. They, you know, like so many other e-bike manufacturers, they do use a lot of industry standard components that they then sort of custom assemble for you at their shop in Saskatoon. But they also have their own R&D, and they've developed some of their own cool technology. Hey, good morning. So, like the dualizer tech is their technology. I believe the Armageddon headlight on the front of this that integrates directly in the battery, it's 2000 lumen light, is their tech. They've very recently released their Juggernaut XD, which is completely unique in the industry because it has dual drivetrains. So when you're picking an e-bike, primarily you're going to be faced with 2 different power sources, or 2 different motor types. A rear hub drive, which is what this bike has. That's why they call it the Juggernaut Hub Duo. And Duo just means that it's dual battery capable. But the rear hub drive, the motor literally sits in the hub of the rear wheel. And while you can help the motor by pedaling, the motor will run independent of the drivetrain. So if you're going up a steep hill or whatever, you don't have to know how to work the gears or shift. Although if it's a truly steep hill, it certainly does help to drop down to a lower gear and help the motor up. So the pros of the hub drives is that they are generally less expensive, but usually, you know, several $100s compared to a mid-drive. That's the other type that you'll see is a mid-drive. They are less expensive. I would say they provide a more casual riding experience because they don't really require you to work the gears. You can work the gears and get some additional performance, but you certainly don't have to. The downside is that they are less powerful than mid-drive motors, right? So even this hub drive is 750 watts. It is less powerful than a 750 watt mid-drive. And that's because the mid-drives can leverage the drivetrain of the bike. So you'll get higher torque and you'll get higher speeds out of a mid-drive. So if you not only have a lot of steep hills, but you spend a lot of your time on steep hills, you probably want to get a mid-drive because you'll appreciate having that torque, that extra torque that leverages the drivetrain to help you get up those. Of course, you do have to be knowledgeable about how to use the gears and when to use the gears, because while the hub drive is virtually maintenance free, if you misuse the mid-drive, you can prematurely wear out your gear cassette, your chain, basically your drivetrain. And they also do a 1,000 watt mid-drive, which gives you more power, more speed, more torque. But again, it kind of increases the risk, particularly if you don't know how to use the gears, that you could damage your drivetrain. Well, in the quest for more power, Biktrix developed their Juggernaut XD, which I believe has a 2,000, maybe it's a 2,300 watt motor. Basically double, if not more than double, what you'll find on any other bike out there. And because they were cognizant of the risk of that effectively destroying the traditional bike drivetrain, they actually built a second drivetrain onto the bike that's used for power assist. So there's a second rear sprocket and there is a second chain, and it's not a standard bike socket or bike chain. It's actually more akin to a motorcycle sprocket and a motorcycle chain. It is much beefier, much heavier duty. So you have your traditional bicycle drivetrain that you work the gears on, but you don't have any risk of damaging it by applying all that power from that 2,000, maybe 2,300 watt motor. So just super innovative, right? I mean, they're doing stuff that nobody else in the industry is doing right now, and they're also super approachable, very helpful. They have a Biktrix owners group on Facebook where the CEO routinely posts and answers questions directly from customers. It's pretty amazing the level of outreach that they engage in and the level of connection that they strive for with their customers. I'm just super impressed. And it was observing that level of support is what really built confidence in me that I could buy this bike sight unseen online, right? Because I'm too far away for it to be practical for me to visit one of their showrooms. That I could do that with confidence. They also, prior to me pressing the buy button on their website, they allow you to schedule a phone conference with one of their reps to basically ask any question you've got. I wrote down probably a dozen questions, and we had a 30-minute phone call, and yeah, they were super thorough, answered everything to my satisfaction, and then even offered me a discount for having set up the phone call with them. So very much appreciate that. All right, I think this is my exit. Let's see. All right, dog poop. So exiting, so that was the Snoqualmie Valley Trail. So jumped off of that. We're at about almost 9 miles in. So I'm going to switch over to the road here, and we're going to go up Kelly Road and swing around the backside of the Tolt Pipeline Trail and jump back on that. So again, busy time of day. So let's just boost the throttle a little bit. Check the rear view mirror. Feels like we're clear. That's good. We're still clear. Oh, I see a car coming. That's okay, because we're getting into the turn lane here. Down to maybe gear 2, because this is kind of a, oh crap, this is a hill. All right, actually take it down to gear 1. Whew. So this hill would actually be significantly easier if I either use the throttle or kick the pass level up higher, but I am remaining in pass 1 because I want to get the exercise benefit of this, and I am definitely feeling that, right? And so despite the fact that, holy crap, my heart rate just hit one, it's like in the high 160s, actually briefly touched 170. Whew. I am definitely getting some exercise benefit out of this. The bike is providing, looks like anywhere from, looks like about 475 watts. So the bike is making this hill accessible, but it's also allowing me to get a workout from it. So without the e-bike, it would simply be too hard, and therefore I wouldn't do it, right? And so the e-bike takes the edge off, makes it accessible, gets me out here doing it. And yes, the battery is taking some of the load from me, but it's taking the load from me that I need taken so that I can actually get out here and do this. I wouldn't be getting the exercise I'm getting if it weren't for the battery taking some of that load. And it looks like it's dropping now. It's around 300 watts, which makes sense because the hill's starting to, I think we're past the steepest part. Got one more car coming up behind me. All right. Okay. Yeah, heart rate's down to like 143. Clearly I'm talking a lot easier because it's the hill's flattening out. Let's see, let me shift to, there we go, second gear. Oh man, and that seat is still squeaking. Yeah. When I get home, I'm gonna take the seat post out. There's a quick release on the seat post, so I'll pop that, pull the seat post out, use my Allen head wrench or Allen head driver to remove the clamp that holds the seat rails onto the seat post, and then I'm gonna slather those rails with grease. All right, we can go to gear 3. All right, and I think we can go to gear 4. Whew. All right, heart rate 154. That was a good hill. That was a good hill. and made possible by the Biktrix Juggernaut Hub Duo. And see, that's another thing too, when you're choosing a bike and you're confronted with, oh, do I get a hub drive or do I get a mid drive? Invariably, because absolutely, you will hear and read the same things that I did, which is, oh, get a mid drive, get a mid drive. If you've got any hills, get a mid drive. They make it sound like you should only be getting a hub drive if you live in someplace like Florida or Kansas, right? Where it's just totally flat. I live in Western Washington in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, and I can assure you that is not the case. The hub drive does just fine on these hills. Now, for the steeper hills, yes, I have to gear down the bike's drivetrain and assist the motor to get up these hills. But that's okay, that works for me. And this is, I got this bike partly as adventure equipment, partly as exercise equipment. So I like that. I would say hills up to about a 10% grade, and this is just me speculating, right? But I would say hills up to about a 10% grade, maybe a 12% grade. You can just use throttle all the way and not pedal at all, right? You'll go slower, right? On flat ground, full throttle, this will do 25 miles an hour. Going up a steep hill with throttle only, you'd probably be doing like 7 miles an hour. But it'll get you up with effectively zero effort on your part. Would a mid-drive do that better? Yes. Mid-drives have more torque. They make use of the drivetrain. They will get you up the same hill faster, right? Biktrix even has a YouTube video where they demonstrate that. They, they're in Saskatoon, which is, I hope I don't offend anyone, but I'm going to call Saskatoon the Canadian equivalent of our Kansas. I mean, it's just super flat. But they did have a small hill in town that they had somebody ride up with a traditional bike, and they timed him, and then they did it with a hub drive, this bike actually, well, not this specific one, but this model, 750 watt hub drive, and then they did it with a 750 watt mid drive, and then with a 1,000 watt mid drive. And yeah, I think the 750 watt mid drive was about 30% faster going up the hill than the hub drive, whereas the 1,000 watt mid drive was 50% faster than the hub drive going up the hill. So if you've got a lot of hills, like, or if you spend a lot of time on hills, you've got a lot of steep hills, yeah, you may want to consider mid drive. But I've got steep hills around here. I don't spend all my time on them. They are things that I have to get past to get to the routes that I want to ride, and the hub drive allows me to do that just fine. Just fine. In fact, where I'm heading, we are heading to the, I'm on Kelly Road, we're heading to the Tolt Pipeline Trail. There is a ridiculously steep hill. So steep they actually had to put a switchback on it. Ridiculously steep hill that we're going to go up. Admittedly, the first time I tried it with this bike, I wasn't really, I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't actively paying attention, I guess, and I did stall out going up that hill. But then I turned around and tried it again, took a different line, and pedaled a little bit more vigorously to help, and made it up. And each time I've tried that hill with this bike, I've actually, I would say it's gotten easier, in part because I know like what line to take, and I basically know how to attack the hill. Alright, car coming up behind me. almost 11 miles. Okay, yeah, I think this will end up being about a 15-mile ride today, maybe 16. Oh, squeaky seat. Squeaky seat is squeaky. So we got two bikes. They're both Juggernaut hub duos. Both have the 750 watt rear geared hub drive. Mine is this metallic red color. My wife got the, I think they call it emerald green. Yeah, just beautiful paint jobs on these. And they now have an option. I want to say it's a, oh geez, I think it's about a $300 option, like to basically have it custom painted with any color you want, right? If you can describe it or provide them with a sample, they will match it and they will powder coat your bike in that specific color. So I've seen one that was hot pink. They also have a couple camouflage patterns that they do too. Like if you're a hunter and you want to use these bikes for getting into the woods to hunt, they've got camo pattern bikes too. Oh, squeaky seat is squeaky. So let's see. How have I accessorized the bike since I've had it? Well, I did add a new seat. So the seat that it comes with is not bad by any means. But I did a 42-mile ride early on, and I was pretty sore after that. And knowing that I wanted to do longer rides, I opted for this Cloud9 sofa. And you know, as an upgrade, this was pretty inexpensive. It was like, I think maybe $35 on Amazon. And it took me all of 5 minutes to install. So, all right, another car come up behind us. Truck, to be more precise. Yeah, prior to that 42-mile ride, I would say that I hadn't really thought about the Biktrix seat. I mean, it was comfortable. It was fine, right? I did a couple of like 10, 15, even 20-mile rides, and it was fine. But 42 miles, I was definitely feeling it. There were points toward the end there where I was standing up just to give my butt a rest. So yeah, if you don't intend to do really long rides, oh wow, there's a skeleton. Hello, Halloween. Yeah, if you don't intend to do really long rides, you know, if you're going to be sticking to like the 20-25 mile range, Biktrix seat's fine, right? But if you're going farther than that, it's worth your time to get and worth your money to get a cushier seat. All right, we're coming up on 12 miles, and this is trailhead for the Tolt Pipeline Trail. They made this far narrower than you need to be. All right, Tolt Pipeline Trail. Can you see that freaking hill that's in front of us? It's like a straight drop-off cliff. Well, fortunately, the road cuts to the left there, and there's a switchback that we'll take up. So I'm in pass 1, gear 4. I think to get up this hill, I'm going to drop down to gear 1 and probably up to pass 3. So let's see, it's good. I'm in gear 3 right now. Let's go down to gear 2. Okay. Gear 2 is okay. We're doing fine. It's really that bend up there is where it gets real. And when I first tried this, I took the inside track, which is actually a lot steeper than the outside track. That was my mistake, and that's why I stalled out. All right, so let's drop down to, we are in gear 1. Let's maybe kick it up past 3, and we're going to take the outside track. And we are pedaling, and we're doing just fine. Look at that. Look at that. Yes, I am feeling a burn in my quads. My heart rate is going up in the mid 150s, but we are tackling this hill on a bike in a way that we never could if it was muscle power alone, because right now the bike is giving me, whoa, it just spiked up to 1,000 watts, which, keep in mind, this is a 750 watt motor. So, whew, okay, made it up, nice. All right, kick it up to gear 2, drop it back down to pass 1. Heart rate's about 155. So yeah, when they talk about, whew, gotta catch my breath a little. When they talk about motor wattages, 750 watts means that that's the nominal output. That means that's the output that the motor can sustain indefinitely and not cause any harm or do any damage. And well, I'm just noticing that it looks like they've recently mowed both sides of the trail here. So 750 watts nominal, but it will peak like in short bursts when you need it higher than that, like it just did here. I'll have to go back and review the video, but when I glanced down briefly, I definitely saw 4 digits. It was 1,000 something. I didn't see the exact number, so I'm gonna have to review that in the video. Hopefully it captured. But I want to say in a chat I had with their CEO on that Facebook group I mentioned, the Biktrix owners group, Roshan Thomas, who's their CEO, did say that yes, it's 750 watt nominal, but the controller that they had built in here, which is really kind of what determines what the peak is going to be, the controller will let the motor peak at about 1,200 watts for short bursts when you need it, like I just did going up that hill. All right, let's kick it up to gear 4. Oh, squeak, you're McSqueakerton, come on. Oh, I can't wait to grease those rails. So I don't know if you can see how basically the terrain here is just undulating, right? I've got a downhill in front of me and another big uphill. And this is what this right-of-way is here, this big swath cut through the forest. This is for the Tolt Pipeline. The Tolt Pipeline carries water from the Tolt Reservoir into Seattle. I think the pipeline runs for 20-25 miles. And a good portion of it They also have this trail for people to walk and hike and ride the bikes and ride the horses and all that. So the pipeline is buried under this trail. Actually, it's off to the side over here. In fact, there'll be a point up here where we go through. You know, right now we're heading into a valley. We're going up the peak. There'll be another valley after that. There'll be 2 points up here where you'll actually be able to see the pipeline exposed. Oop, kick it up to gear 5, gear 6, because we're going downhill. I don't know the exact dimensions, but to me it looks like it's about a 5-foot diameter concrete pipe. So that's got to carry just a whole lot of water, right? Like I said, it's a third of Seattle's daily water need runs through this pipeline. All right, drop down to gear 3 to go up this hill. Well, we're doing just fine. How's the heart rate? Like mid 130s. Okay. Fog up here. Interesting. All right. So let's see. Let me cycle through. All right. So the bike is at 488. The bike's at 488 miles total. I think I've charged it 3 times now. Maybe 4? I don't know, I should probably keep track. Anyway, I've had it for about a month. I've lost about 10 pounds. It's enabled me to go out and do things that I thought were just not possible for me anymore, given my limited mobility with that hip injury. It's in a very real and significant way, it's given me back a part of my life that I thought was gone. So if you find yourself in a similar situation where you can't really do the things that you used to enjoy doing anymore because of mobility, give these bikes a try. You'll be amazed at what they can do for you. Hey, good morning. All right, kicking up to gear 4. We're at the top of this little plateau. Be nice and flat till we've got 2 gates ahead of us, and after that second gate, it goes downhill again. But yeah, it's just the terrain here is just undulating, right? Up and down, because we're in the foothills of the Cascades, and this hub drive handles it just fine. I think if I was spending most of my time on hills, or if the hills were significantly steeper or very steep, but like maybe like single track, loose gravel, you know, just poor condition, I could definitely see where mid-drive would benefit. But this bike was about $400 less than the equivalent mid-drive. So $400 less than the 750 watt mid-drive, and it was $1,000 less than the 1,000 watt mid-drive. But you know, if you need that power, if you need that torque and that speed, they've got it, right? You know, obviously you pay for it, but they've got it if you need it. And you know, like if you're a hunter and you're going into the woods where there are no trails, and you're hauling out game that weighs a couple hundred pounds. You know, they do make trailers, game trailers that attach to these bikes, so you can haul out your harvested game. You would probably appreciate having that 1,000-watt drive, that 1,000-watt mid-drive, when you're carrying that heavier load out and you're going over basically just rough terrain, no trails. Hi. All right, we're coming up to a section here where you can actually see part of the pipeline exposed. So there it is. That is the Tolt Pipeline. Like I said, to me, it looks like it's about a 5-foot diameter concrete pipe. How are we going? Oh yeah, we're at 14 miles. This is on about a 15 and a half, almost 16-mile ride. Let's kick it down to maybe gear 2 to go up this hill. Oh, squeaker McSqueakerton, jeez. That squeaking, that is all in the seat. That is the seat rails interfacing with the clamp that holds the seat onto the seat post. Because as I pedal, I'm putting lateral torque on the seat from left to right, Because I got, as one foot pushes down, I'm shifting my weight to that side, and as the other foot pushes down, shifting the weight to that side, and so there's this rocking that occurs in the seat, and it's where there's 2 seat rails underneath the seat that are clamped in place onto the seat post, and as I pedal and as I do this, it causes those things to rub and squeak. And I had previously put a light coat of grease on there, but I think I just need to slather some grease in there. Graffiti on the Tolt Pipeline Trail sign. That really upsets me. It's like grade school pickup. Okay, so we're still in pass 1. We're in gear 4, and we're heading home. What time is it? 9:08. Okay. Yeah. I was debating whether I wanted to go a little bit further, but I do have to. Today is a work day, and I've got a little bit of a later than normal start, but I do need to get back and get ready. You know what? This is it'll be 15, almost 16 miles farther than I would have gone otherwise without this bike. You know, I can't. In fact, if you were to like take this bike away from me and say, "Oh, go do that same route on your regular bike," no thanks. Not going to happen. Right? Despite the fact that there are significant portions of this route where I'm providing most of the power, it's those few portions where we've got those steep hills that's just, no, I can't do it because I'd end up having to walk. Right? And that sucks. and this just makes it all possible. All right, let's kick it up to gear 5. Back down to 4 because we got a slight incline. Okie doke. So in terms of upgrades to the bike, I talked about I put on the Cloud9 sofa seat. I've got a just a generic trunk bag back there that I picked up off of Amazon. I do like it because it's got like a rigid foam insert, so it keeps the shape of the bag, which is nice. Let's see, I've added this rear view mirror, which if you're spending any amount of time on a road like this, you really want a mirror, right? It just, you need to be able to see when cars are coming up behind you. It helps with your awareness, with your preparation, gives you peace of mind, right? So get a mirror. And and there are two primary styles that you'll find. You'll find mirrors that clamp onto the handlebar and like kind of come up and over. And then they call this a bar end mirror because you actually take off, there's like a little plastic cap that inserts into the end of the handlebar. You take that out and this goes inside and tightens internally inside the bar. For this sort of configuration, you definitely want a bar end mirror because, you know, if you look, there's not a whole lot of room on this handlebar to put a mirror. Let's see. Oh, I added the cell phone holder. So I actually bought the one that Biktrix sells as an accessory, and you know, it's fairly inexpensive, like 15 bucks. And I think this was probably about the same, but the one that Biktrix sells, you sort of, it has like a, it clamps directly onto the handlebar with, there's like a U-clamp with screws. And kind of the problem I saw with that right away is that this handlebar kind of has like an M shape to it, right? It's not straight, it actually bends, and the width of the handlebar changes, like, so it's thickest here in the middle and gets thinner out here. And so having a metal clamp that clamps onto it, it just didn't really fit very well in any one place, because wherever I put it, one side of the clamp was going to be fitting differently than the other side. And the cell phone sort of like slid in from the top, and you would then clamp it in from the sides. And I think, like, if all you're doing is like riding on a road like this, not a problem. But I was on that trail that we just saw. I was on the Snoqualmie Valley Trail, and I was not paying great attention, and I hit a pretty big pothole, and it caused my phone literally to catapult out of the cell phone holder and launch like 30 feet in front of me and land in the gravel. So that was unpleasant. So I went with this one, which actually grips it from the bottom and the top corners, and it has squishy rubber in there to securely hold it in place. And once you get it in there, there's a little click lock in the back that prevents it from opening up. All right, look at that. 16 miles exactly.